Welcome back to some new PettyRevenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we? It's called Parking Revenge. About 10 years ago, I was a welder. My best friend growing up went to school for it, started a business, hired me as a helper, and eventually I became a welder. We had a diesel truck, and every morning we had to go to this gas station to fill up. It was a huge gas station, but there were only 2 diesel pumps. People would always park in front of them and just run inside, not even getting gas. One morning we pulled up, and some guy in an old slim Subaru cut us off as we were turning into the gas station, then parked in front of the diesel pump. The other pump was in use by another guy in construction, who was filling his truck and his bobcat on a trailer, so he was going to be there for a while. As the Subaru guy gets out of his car, we kindly asked him if he could park elsewhere. He gave us the finger and walked into the store. We sat for a few minutes behind him, and nothing happened. I don't know what this guy was doing. So my buddy, who was always the kind of person to push the limits, hops out of our truck, runs up, and sees that the Subaru is running and unlocked. He reaches in and locks the doors. We waited another 10 minutes or so, and the other truck finally left. So we went to that pump. This guy was still not out of the store, after like 15 minutes. Eventually, while we are filling up, he comes out, realizes his car is locked with the engine running, and starts to freak out, saying he's going to be late for work. Of course, this guy decides that since we have tools, he'd ask us for help. We just told him to buzz off. No idea how he ever solved that, as we left shortly after. The next story is called Sharing the Bill. I started working with a new team, and they had this practice of going out for lunch every Friday. I was new to the job, and I knew my pay was way lower than everyone else's. Months later, I realized I was paid unfairly low, and eventually quit for a better paying job as my form of revenge. At that time I had loans to pay off, and was at the beginning of my career, so I was pretty careful with my spending. I was invited to join the Friday lunches, and I enjoyed it, but one thing really bugged me. The bill was always split equally. It was a problem for me, because I was the only vegetarian in the group. Everyone else would order a bunch of non-vegetarian appetizers and main courses, and share amongst themselves, while I would just order one appetizer and one main dish for myself. They'd often take bites of my appetizer or portions of my main dish to taste it. Most days I'd leave the restaurant still feeling a bit hungry, and on top of that I was paying more than what I had ordered. Usually my total came to about $15, and with tip it was less than $18. But when we split the overall bill, I'd end up paying around $23 to $25. It was frustrating, because I wasn't even getting to eat what I ordered. So one day, I subtly suggested the idea of separate bills, or at least letting me pay for what I ordered. Most of them ignored me, and 2 people who did respond shut down the idea, saying I was being ridiculous. That day, I decided to play along with their rules. I ordered 2 appetizers instead of 1. The next week, I ordered 2 appetizers and 2 main dishes. At the end of lunch, I packed the leftovers to take home for dinner. The week after that, I added a dessert to my order, and even asked the server to pack one of the main dishes straight into a to-go box. That's when the alarm bell started ringing for them. I was now ordering food worth over $40 with tips, and since it was all getting mixed into the bigger pool, everyone's share had gone up into the upper $20. On the 4th week, just as I was about to order, one of the guys who had called my idea ridiculous suggested that we have separate bills for vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. That day I ordered 2 appetizers and 1 main dish. I invited everyone to taste the appetizer and offered them my main dish as well. I left the lunch feeling full for once, with no to-go boxes. In the following weeks, the split bill concept slowly disappeared, and everyone started paying just for what they ordered. They only split the cost for shared appetizers, and in the end, everyone ended up paying less than what they used to. They realized they had been ordering more food than they needed, because they thought splitting the bill made it cheaper. but when everyone's doing the same, it doesn't really work out that way. The third story is called Forgot Your Trash. A few years ago, my then husband and I were in Orlando for a little 3 or 4 day trip to Disney World. We needed to stop by Walmart for a couple of things, so we went to the one closest to the park. My husband went inside while I waited in the car. As I was sitting there, I noticed a couple of ladies, probably in their mid-40s or 50s, pull into a parking spot a few spaces away from me. They got out of their car, grabbed a shopping cart, and started filling it with trash from the back seat of their car. When they were done, they pushed the cart just a couple of feet away from their car, even though there was a trash can only a few feet away. I watched in disbelief as they left the cart full of trash and casually walked into Walmart like this was their normal routine. I was so upset because I can't stand people who litter. It's not hard to hold onto your trash and throw it away properly. I almost wanted to go up to them and tell them they left their car full of garbage next to their car, but I'm not the confrontational type. Still, I really wanted them to face some consequences. Then I noticed they had left their car windows cracked. It's Florida in the middle of summer, hot and humid, and they left their windows down. So I go out of my car, grabbed their trash-filled cart, and started shoving all the trash back into the back seat of their car through the cracked window. Food was spilling out of the clamshell to-go boxes. Liquids were leaking from containers, and cigarette ash was dumping out of the old cartons. I made sure to get every bit of trash out of the cart and back into their car. Once the cart was empty, I pushed it back to our cart corral and go back into my car to wait for my husband to come back, or ideally to see the lady's reaction. Unfortunately, my husband returned before I got the chance to witness their reaction, but I take comfort in the fact that the spilled food was probably cooking in their backseat while they were inside, and I hope their car smelled like garbage for a long time. The last story is called Clean Neighborhood. In 2001, I had just moved to a quiet neighborhood, where my children, who were 1 and 3 years old at the time, could play outside safely and grow up with the neighborhood kids. It was also nice for my 3 cats, who could finally run around outside. After our first week, it was time for our first garbage day. I had everything neatly packed in closed bags and placed them inside our garbage container. In the morning, like the rest of the street, I took the container out to the curb around 7 AM, then started cleaning my house. I had a white floor, which I loved because I knew it was clean when I mopped it, something I did daily, especially with crawling children. Afterward, I went grocery shopping. When I got back and opened the door, I was in shock. My entire hallway was filled with garbage that I didn't recognize, clearly shoved through the letterbox. I noticed several neighbors watching me from their windows or standing outside, clearly knowing something about what had happened. After asking around, I found out which neighbor had thrown the trash into my house, doing so with quite a bit of fanfare. Something inside me snapped. It felt like a bomb went off in my head, and all my decency disappeared. I was beyond furious. I cleaned up the trash, put the kids in the living room, and then I cleaned the cat litter box. Normally I just throw the entire contents into a bag, but this time I was a bit more precise. I scooped out just the clumps, divided them into 2 small flimsy bags, and headed to the neighbor's house down the street. I rang the doorbell, keeping the bags hidden behind me. When the lady opened the door, she had a smug grin on her face. Her door swung wide open, and I quickly saw her spotless hallway, a carpeted staircase to the right, the open door to the living room on the left, and a super clean hallway leading to the back where the toilet was. Calmly, though I felt anything but calm, I asked her if she was the one who had put the garbage through my letterbox. She smirked and said yes, explaining that since I was new to the neighborhood, she assumed that the loose trash around the garbage containers had to be mine. After all, it never happened before we moved in. That's when I lost it. All the calm I had left vanished in an instant. In a tirade of anger, I let her know how wrong she had been to jump to conclusions, shove garbage into my house, and endanger my crawling children and pets. And with that, I told her that since she seemed to enjoy cleaning so much, I had something for her. I hurled the 2 bags into her pristine hallway, One bag hit the corner of the stairs, and the other hit the doorpost of the living room. The mess was everywhere. I gave her a final warning, saying that if she ever did something like that to me again, I'd smash every single one of her windows. Then I turned around and walked home. Everyone in the neighborhood had seen and heard what happened, and after that, no one ever tried anything like that with me again. I can still remember the look on her face when those bags went flying, and I still enjoy thinking about it. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.